What this tool does, it will help you to very quickly get an estimate of what your calorie intake should be, what your protein intake should be, and how you would adjust it when you're doing regular exercise versus not.
The premier source of patient-centered information on PKD and how to reverse it. This is Felix Mueller.
Hello everyone, this is Felix, your friendly neighborhood kidney hacker, coming back again for another episode. This time, I want to tell you about a super cool little tool that I have been introducing with the announcement of my book. And if you have already pre-ordered the book, then you will have received my infographic, which also includes a link to this tool. But if you have not, then you can still use this tool to better understand something about your own diet and food intake. And also exercise, frankly. So I've linked this tool in the description, but it's at reversingpkd.com/report. It will help you to very quickly get an estimate of what your calorie intake should be, what your protein intake should be, and how you would adjust it when you're doing regular exercise versus not, what your body fat percentage probably is, and also how you can adjust your protein intake if some of your blood results are out of range. We have two adjustments. We have one adjustment for elevated BUN or nitrogen in your blood, and also one adjustment for a GFR under 60 milliliters per minute. Another very cool feature of this tool is it doesn't just give you your calorie needs and your protein and fat carb targets for a standard kind of keto day, but it will also calculate your optimal nutrient intake for a protein fasting day. Now, if you're not familiar with protein fasting, this is an advanced strategy that you would only start implementing when your diet is already on point. But this is really what I recommend instead of water fasting. There's a lot of people doing water fasting, as it has been shown in a couple of studies that it has very beneficial effects on kidney size. However, there's a big problem with water fasting, which is toxin redistribution, right? So if you stop eating for, let's say, more than our standard type of intermittent fasting window, up to 18 hours, 16 to 18 hours, what we recommend, then you start detoxing even more, which means that you are liberating toxins, mostly heavy metals, but other stuff as well, glyphosate. If you start fasting longer than that, then you will increase your detox by a lot. This means that your fat cells are now going into lipolysis, which means dissolving some of the fat, releasing it, and also releasing the toxins that are stored inside the fat with it. That means that at that point, you are increasing the toxins in your bloodstream, which of course is the only way to then liberate them. One way to get rid of them pretty quickly is actually sauna. So whenever you're doing fasting, sauna is an amazing idea. I can only highly recommend doing sauna whenever you're fasting. However, if you're not doing sauna, or also if you are doing sauna, in addition to that, you really want to spare your kidneys and your liver from having to process all of that stuff, because your body does have more mechanisms to get rid of those toxins. For example, through the stool. Can't just be in the urine, right? Can also be through the stool. If you want to excrete through the stool, however, you need stuff to be moving through your gut. Otherwise, there's no stool, so the toxins get reabsorbed and then they get placed into other areas of your body where they weren't before, but now they're deposited there, and it might even be a bigger problem. They could go to the kidney, cause more cyst growth. They could also go to the brain, increase your risk for Alzheimer's and other diseases. So you really want to avoid toxin redistribution as much as you can. So if you're not going to water fast, then what can you do? Well, as soon as you start introducing a certain amount of non-starchy vegetables on your fasting day, and also adding some collagen or gelatin, which contains a lot of glycine, which helps the body make glutathione. Now, bear with me. This is the main antioxidant that your liver uses to detox most of these things that are getting liberated. So what you want to do instead on your fasting day, which is not going to be a water fast, is you want to keep to your bulletproof coffee in the morning, but reduce the amount of fat to the calories that this calculator will tell you. And you want to have a single meal at lunch, which consists of some non-starchy vegetables, some bone broth, which will contain a lot of gelatin or collagen, which contains the glycine that we just talked about. Let's look at a concrete example. I put in for a male, age 30, 70 kilograms, 170 centimeters body size. So estimated body fat percentage is 21%. Protein target, 92 grams. Calorie needs, 1,941 calories. Carb target, 40 grams or less. Fat target, 157 grams or more, depending on if you're eating 40-gram carbs or less, because we need to meet the calorie target if we don't want to lose weight. Now, these calculations are actually from Dr. Mercola, who went into great detail in his book called Keto Fast, which is a high recommendation from me. Get the book to really understand how to optimize your fast. And this is sort of a very, very small version of this, and I wanted to make it very easy for people to understand what their intake on a protein fast day would actually have to be. For this example, the daily estimated calorie needs are 428 calories. It's not a lot. Protein target is fixed at 15 grams, and the protein type is also fixed, which is collagen or gelatin. This is because this protein does not trigger mTOR, or does not trigger cyst growth, kidney growth, muscle growth, nothing the body's triggered to be growing when we just have this kind of protein. Carbohydrate target also 15 grams or less, but we want to try and hit those 15 grams because otherwise we're not going to have enough bulk in the stool from non-starchy vegetables to start moving toxins out. Now, our fat target is basically the difference, right? In this example, it's 34 grams. Now, I know I have 34 grams of fat to budget. I want to have maybe a full tablespoon of C8 MCT oil with my lunch, just to increase ketosis some more and have it spaced out over the day. So that leaves me about 19 grams of fat left to budget. And that would be what I would put in my bulletproof coffee in the morning. Then again, split it 50-50, put about maybe 10 grams of butter, 9 grams of MCT, or flip it around in my bulletproof coffee. So I have about 19 grams of fat with breakfast. And then I make my lunch, which would be enough bone broth to hit the 15 grams protein, about a cup, but check out your bone broth. If you make your own, then of course you got to check online and take an estimate. And then we add enough non-starchy vegetables of our choice, for example, broccoli, cauliflower, Brussels sprouts, whatever you like, to that bone broth to hit the 15 grams carb target. And that's the meal. For example, it could be a cup of bone broth with 150 grams of Brussels sprouts, and in the morning, you would have a bulletproof coffee with about 20 grams of fat. That would be a very, very nicely designed protein fasting day. And this is what the calculator is for, so you know exactly how much you need for your body weight. And that's what that part of the calculator is for, so that you know exactly what you need for your protein fasting day. But that's not all. Also, on the same report page, I have a VO₂Max estimation calculator, which is pretty cool because we have actually learned that it is very beneficial if your VO₂Max, which is a measure of your cardiovascular fitness, is pretty high. And we do have a rating system, and the higher you are on that system, the higher your ability to start breaking down damaged tissue, which includes cysts, when you are fasting. And it's a very interesting study, which I will talk more about in the future, that shows that the higher you are on the cardiovascular fitness or VO₂Max scale, the better your ability to break down damaged tissue, cystic tissue, to go into autophagy. And for the fittest people in that study, it was actually just a period of 2 hours necessary to start an autophagy. And for unfit people, it was days. So it's a big difference that it makes. And this tool helps to give you, and this tool will just help to give you an understanding of where on that range you're actually lying. And then you can start to improve from there and keep coming back to the tool and find how much you have improved. The final part of my report page is actually a Cystatin C GFR calculator that uses the most recent formula, which is from a 2023 study and is very hard to find calculators for online. So I made one for you. This is very cool because if you are still measuring your GFR based on creatinine, you might have also learned that this is very dependent on your protein intake and also on your body mass, which sucks, frankly, because on this diet, we want to have good protein intake, and we also might want to increase body mass because it's good to have muscle, right? So we don't want to be distracted by these values changing for the worse just because we're doing something good for our body, which is what happens for many people, and they sort of get discouraged. So I always recommend, if you can, to get your Cystatin C tested instead of your creatinine and start calculating your GFR from that. There's also options to calculate it from both, but if you use just the Cystatin C, then you're removing this variable from the equation, which I think is a good idea. You can also get all of these reports sent to your email. So just enter your email and press the big green button and you'll have it in your inbox. So you can save it for later, or you can use it to chronicle your progress over the time that you are on the PKD Proof program. So that's it for today's video. I hope you like the new tool, which I worked very hard on. And yeah, if you find any bugs, then please send me an email or comment below, because I do want to fix them. And I do want this to be a very valuable resource to you guys. I do this in my free time, and I really hope that it helps you guys. If you want to learn more about the impact of VO₂Max or cardiovascular fitness on PKD and on your ability to go into autophagy, I would recommend you stay tuned on this channel, or you go to the book, because that is where I talk about that and other things. By all means, go to the link in the description, and you can even get the infographic that I made for pre-orders in your email inbox as soon as you forward the receipt to bonus@reversingpkd.com. Please leave us a thumbs up for this video if you liked it on YouTube, and also give us 5 stars if you're listening on one of the podcast apps. If you're not part of our community yet, then we'd love to have you. So head over to reversingpkd.com and click on community to be redirected to our Facebook group. There's a lot of discussion on all of these topics over there. So until then, happy healing.